You got yours, you got mine. Somewhere down the road you have ours. It's always the disagreement about how to deal with the kids that creates the conflicts. Now, something that we feel helps in that is if you understand God's first and then your spouse and then the kids, you get that part right, it goes a lot better. But there's a mindset here with parenting. The children belong to God. They don't belong to you. They are God's kids. He's going to want them back. He's loaning them to you. You need to be a good steward and not an owner. Okay? There's a parable about a king that has a vineyard, and he turns it over to some of his servants. And he said, I'm going to be gone for a while, but take care of it for me. Right? So they're stewards of the vineyard. Well, after a while, it's time for the harvest. The king sends somebody back to get his cut, that 10% or whatever. And he's been gone so long, these guys kind of feel like, hey, this is our vineyard. We're taking care of it. It belongs to us. Why should we give you anything? So he sends somebody to collect it, and they beat him up, and he doesn't get anything, and he leaves, right? And he's all bloody and everything. Well, then he sends somebody else, and that guy gets beat up. He says, well, I'll send my son. Surely they'll give him what's owed. Well, they kill the son, right? Which is Jesus, right? But we're supposed to be good stewards of what God gives us and then give them back. And I have 18 to 25,
When you give them back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Somewhere in there I used to be giving them back. Because when they're adults, now they're responsible for themselves. You are not responsible for what your kids do, as far as God's concerned.
Why to age 25? Because our society says when they're 18 they're adults. When you're adults, okay, 5.
Yeah. Well, good question. Why 25?
Yeah.
Actually, like you said, legally at 18, kids are adults.
Right.
But in God's eyes, when kids are somewhere around the age of 12, that's when they were always doing the bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs, and that was like the traditional, okay, now you're an adult. See, back then there was never a teen age. You're a kid or you're an adult. There was no tween, right? So back then, 12 years old, boom, hey, that's on you, right? It's not on me, it's on you. You did it. You should have known what you were doing. That's your problem, not mine. But over all these centuries, the parents have got to that point where they want to do everything for the kids. They don't want the kid to have to do anything, and we've made a mess of it. So, and a lot of like medical insurances and things like that, they'll let you be on the parents' policy till about then.
Yeah.
Question?
I was going to say, I think also too because college age.
Yeah.
And when kids are in college, they can be 22, 23, so.
Yeah, and the 25 is hopefully the kids, if you're still going to support them through college, then really they should be on their own. But, really at age 12 or so, they should know right from wrong. You're doing, training them up in the way they should go so that when they're old, they won't depart from that. But anyway, we have seen more problems in marriages when it comes to how the parenting is done. There's disagreement on how to parent. And, you've been a single parent for however long. They've been a single parent for however long. Now you got two very strong-willed people coming together to be one flesh, and they got these attachments. But what do you do with that?
You fight.
You come to class, right? No, you pray a lot. But you understand that they're not your kids.
Well, there's also a different set of rules, Larry, that might be a good part to interject. Well, they can't hear me. Interject when they're of adult age, that the relationship with you as parents changes.
Right.
Because now it's adult to adult. You're always a parent, but you do have to acknowledge they are adult. And that's another hard transition, is realizing your child is an adult. But you have to allow them to make mistakes, fall down, let them know you love them. You don't have to necessarily agree with what they did, but that you are always there for them because you are their parent. But you have to give them time to make those mistakes. That's how they're going to learn. So it would be at a certain age, and it depends on different children. Some are more grown up at 18 than they would be at maybe 30. But you have to allow for them to do that, and it is a different transition for you. It's adult to adult now.
Right. Yeah, good point. That's part of giving them back. You realize they're responsible for themselves. Yeah, they're your kid, but they're an adult. So that relationship changes from parent, like Carol said, adult to adult.
And stay tuned as Dr. Snapp breaks it down on consequences in your
That's
marriage.
not how it works. At least not in God's kingdom. You do something stupid, there's consequences.
You're listening to Blended Families
Okay.
Ministry on ChristianLivingRadio.com.
Okay? I'm responsible for me. You're responsible for you. If you fall down, it's your knee that gets scraped,
David,
not mine.
David.
Question.
Yeah, just a lot of times when they get to that age, we think it's love, but it's really selfishness, because we basically get in the middle of God being able to deal with them.
Absolutely.
Right, exactly.
So it's just hindering, prolonging
Mhm.
what
They don't
they're
learn.
going to have to.
Yeah,
They don't learn.
as the children get older, especially the later teens, we become enablers. We don't want them to suffer, because we suffered, but we don't want them to. But how did we learn? We suffered. If they don't suffer, they don't learn anything. All they learn, well, they do learn. They learn that you'll take care of them,
Right. Yeah, that's true.
you know. I can do anything I want, and I'm not going to fall down and get hurt. That's not how it works. At least not in God's kingdom. You do something stupid, there's consequences. Okay? Now, that's where a lot of blended families start going wrong, is ownership mentality versus stewardship. But then there's the extended family,
Oh, yeah.
exes,
Yeah.
in-laws,
Yeah.
outlaws, friends, neighbors,
Siblings.
siblings,
Let me point out your mistake you made last time. Make sure you don't make it again.
church folks.
Ooh.
Okay, if you get through 2 and 3 okay, number 4 is going to get you. Exes are tough to deal with. That's why I have a whole nother class on Beyond Divorce. Is you got to get your head right after the mess before you step into another mess.
And make it a mess.
Well, yeah,
And
you
end
step
up
into
making
another
it into
relationship
another.
and make a mess of it.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it happens all the time. You know, don't feel like you're the only one. Okay. The latest statistics we've been given is about in the church, about 40% of the people are in a blended situation. It's becoming the new normal, right?
And we'll
Good.
explain more of those blending. It's not just remarriages. There's many types of blending. That's what we kind of cover next week. But we do the boundaries, Larry, which will explain about the boundaries for the fourth line.
Especially the exes.
Yeah, the exes and the children.
Yeah. Even once you move into that adult thing, now the adult children are sort of the extended family, right? They kind of drop down a notch. But exes are the worst because most of the time, not always, there are those rare occasions where an ex is actually a friend. You know, you're better off as friends than spouses, but especially when the children are involved. But a lot of the time, the exes are very vindictive. They hate your guts. They want you to die. Right? How dare you move on without them? Right? So you have to have boundaries. And you have to have boundaries with friends and neighbors. You have to, and there really needs to be boundaries when it comes to some of the church friends. You know, when you go to church, everybody wants you to volunteer for something. And if you say yes too often, then you have things out of order. You're gonna, your ministry at the bottom here is going to be up here at the top someplace, and now everything's all out of order. But one of the biggest things that we recommend when it comes to extended family, and it's really more in the number 3 area, you get your kids together, yours and mine, maybe ours, you get them together, and you try to clean the plate, right? Set everything in order by admitting you screwed up, it wasn't their fault, and you ask them to forgive you for the mess that now they're in. Okay? If they can forgive you for your mess, it helps eliminate a lot of generational curses. It puts more peace in their heart and things like that. But you really got to have some boundaries there, especially with exes. Now, the thing is, if you're remarried, you're in a covenant now. You're one flesh with somebody different. But there's that other part of the flesh that's hanging out there. There's that raw meat that's hanging out there that still wants to be involved. And we hear a lot of times the ex-wife calls the ex-husband, hey, I got this light bulb over here that needs to be changed. You know,
At midnight.
how come you're not here yet? Right? Things like that. But there's so much of this that's a way of thinking. Okay, you have to think as one. We are one. They are not part of we anymore. They are them.
If I might just interject a minute too, what we do suggest when there is a new blended family is you have a meeting. First, you have a meeting between your new spouse and you set some rules and boundaries for the kids. Age appropriate, because different ages have different rules that they have to follow, but you definitely make consequences too as to what the results are going to be if they don't do it. That way you and your husband are on the same page, so the kids can't say, well, Steve made me do this while you were gone. No, we're going to avoid that. And what we suggest, especially with teenage children, is to write it out and get the kids to sign it so they can't say, well, I didn't know that was a rule, because we've had that come across that before. But you just tell them, as Larry was saying, I screwed up last time. I'm sorry that your mom and I didn't get along, or your dad and I didn't get along. It's not your fault. I didn't know. Now I'm getting some training and trying to find out how to blend our new family together. And so I apologize. It gives them a chance to come back at you too and say, well, I never forgave you that time. You made me do this or made me do that. So it's kind of a time to clear the air for everybody and to start with a clean slate. And then just tell them, we're going to do things once a week together. Like we're going to do a family night, rent a Redbox movie, or just maybe make a meal together once a week. But everybody to join in, even the 3-year-old. You can put the paper plates on the table or make everybody be part of it. Let them know. And as crazy as they may think it is, later on, believe me, I mean, because we're hearing it from our kids. Well, I can't even put my Christmas